Hi there, welcome to No Nonsense Whiskey. My name's VinPF, and on today's episode we've got a bit of a retrospective in the Ardnahoe Inaugural release. Now, it's been a while since this came out. This is like, we're in October now. This came out earlier this year, I want to say May, something like that. I initially, I sort of ignored it. I'm a bit of a nightmare for I try not to get FOMO, basically. When I see a lot of people talking about a whiskey, I don't want to fight for it. I can't be bothered to queue up or anything like that. I certainly don't want to get involved in kind of ballots and stuff like that. I've got enough to be getting on with. So anyway, long story long, I had basically decided that I wasn't going to get this. It was selling for originally about 70 quid, and then a local club of mine got a case of it and was chipping it on for 62 quid, 62.50, something like that. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'll buy a bottle of it. Now, truth be told, I didn't cover this early on, mainly because through my own mistake, it took me ages to pick this up from the club. I'm talking, it was weeks and weeks, probably months, maybe a month and a half, 2 months after release. So I sort of felt like, I was like, everyone's done their video on it, I'm not going to bother kind of chucking mine into the fold. I'll get to it, I'll get to it later. And that's now, we're there, we're later. So yeah, I paid something like 60, 62, 65 quid something for this, only a few quid less than what the 70 quid was. But anyway, what we've got then is the Ardnahoe Inaugural release. This is a 5-year-old whiskey from the newest distillery on Islay, which is pretty cool. We don't see that very often indeed, so it's nice to see. Nice to see that they've left it 5 years instead of 3, because they could have easily gone with the whole 3-year vibe, but they've clearly got some backing to be able to wait an extra couple of years to bring something out. And this sort of times out quite nicely because we're about to see the Infinite Lock of theirs come out, which I may or may not get. I don't know. We'll see. As we'll find out if I'm enjoying this or not. Things I know. I know that it's a limited release, but there was obviously quite a lot of it because most people who wanted to get it were able to get it. And in fact, if you are savvy, you can pretty much still get it for the original RRP now. If you have a look, I had a little Google just now, and there are some websites that are still stocking it. Not many, but there are a couple. So kudos, because they've got quite a lot of this. The last thing anybody wants is for an inaugural release to just go onto a secondary market and end up being hundreds of pounds. It's good for a couple of people, I guess, but it's not good for everybody. And I personally, I don't think it's good for the distillery either, because it starts generating this weird demand and they just can't keep up with it. But they've got quite a lot going out. So yeah, it's a limited release, but there was absolutely loads of it. Anyone who wanted to get a bottle was able to, pretty much. It's a mixture of ex-bourbon barrels and ex-Oloroso sherry casks, as it says here. But obviously it's pretty heavily peated as well. No artificial colouring, natural, non-chill filtered, and 50% as well, which is good. We like that sort of thing. Best thing to do then is just to get straight into the whiskey and see what we got. Yeah, cheers. Now for me, it's a fantastic smoky nose. Obviously, I say this a lot on peated whiskey videos, but if you're not a fan of peated whiskey, it's probably not going to turn you onto peat, because it's quite heavy on the peat. But for me, anyway, it's very saline. It's got a lot of like sea air, seaweedy vibe to it. But it's not as medicinal, something like a Lafroig. It's much more akin to a Kalila or an Ardbeg in terms of its barbecue-iness, if that makes sense to you. This is like burning logs on a wood fire, nice and warm. There is some smoke going up, so it's not like a really high temperature, which we know burns fairly cleanly, but there's definitely smoke being kicked up, which is exactly the kind of flavours I like. I'm a big fan of grilling in the back garden, so yeah, smoke, barbecue, perfect. Let's try on the palate. There's some sweetness up front, but those big smoky elements come through. It isn't overly heavy on the peat versus the smoke, which is good. We like that. Nicely mingled in. I find smoke to be a bit more of a kind of a warming characteristic, whereas the peat tends to be very earthy. So I'm getting more of the kind of like that sweeter, smokier elements to this. definitely you know, some earthiness to it as well, some vegetal notes going on. But for me, I mean, that's an absolute winner. I'm perfectly happy with that for the amount of money I paid for it. And actually, I would have been happy with it at the full price as well. So, I mean, I only saved a few bob, but yeah, at full price, they were definitely selling this in the right sort of region, I think. But yeah, massive congratulations to them for finally releasing a whiskey and for me finally getting onto it. And I'll be fairly interested to try that kind of Infinite Lock to see how it stacks up against this. I've got it in my head that might be a bit more of a core range going forward, but I'm not sure about that. It might be limited, it might not be. But yeah, we'll worry about that when we actually get a video out for it. But yeah, let me know in the comments below if you picked this up. I imagine most of you guys, if you're into your peat, you'd definitely be picking this up. So yeah, let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. We'll have a little chat about tasting notes and whatnot. But yeah, I'm really happy with it. I'm really happy with more distilleries doing quality things, doing things the right way, chucking out an age statement, even if it's what some would perceive a low number. I still appreciate that the information is there, and whacking that ABV up as well to match it. Perfect. I'll say cheers to you, cheers to them, and I'll have a little drink off screen. Nice one.